With all these political tweets out there, everyone seems to have a nickname. How come I don't have a nickname? I want a nickname. How come I don't have one? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you for certain is the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, howdy, gang. Yes, welcome to the Daily Dope presented by thegaminggang.com. I am your host, Jeff McAleer, as well as the Grand Poobah of the Gaming Gang. So, welcome aboard if you haven't joined me before. Thanks for stopping in and taking a peek. And I will point out that this is a weekday show, Monday through Fridays, and I'm very, very chatty. And I will mention something from the mailbag in just a little bit once I get past the news for today. Anyway, welcome aboard. I've got lots going on today. I was just kidding about the Twitter nickname. I do not want a Twitter nickname because they're always derogatory nicknames. So, no thanks. No thanks. I don't need like Fatty Jeff or something like that. No. So, if you are popping in today to check out an unboxing, I've got something really cool in store and pretty darn heavy as well. And it is Darkest Night from my pals over at Victory Point Games, designed by Jeremy Lennert. So, I will be doing an unboxing of this in just a bit. Let me swing this back over this way. And yes, if you've been watching, I was going to be doing some renovating behind me, and I started on it in the bed. It's still kind of a mess back there because it began snowing yesterday, so I had to take care of that. And then it was snowing again overnight, so took care of that. And I have not had time to kind of pull in. I'm gonna bring in a new shelf and kind of expand things out, because for one, I don't necessarily want the camera like right up in my face. I don't want that close up, seeing that I pretty much have a face for radio. Anywho, before I get into the news, if you're curious what I've got cooking for the rest of the week, tomorrow's Wednesday, so it is Wargame Wednesday, and I will be showing off what you can find in the Wing Leader expansion from GMT Games. It is Blitz 1939 through 1942. I will be showing this off, and there is a contest going on to actually win this. So tune in tomorrow. I will talk about that. There's going to be a couple of ways, and I will actually be giving this out. I will announce the winner on February 14th. So, because it's not going to take a whole lot of time for me to show off the components, what's included in the Wing Leader expansion, tomorrow I am actually going to do a how to play of one of my all-time favorite games. That's right, Twilight Struggle. So tomorrow is going to be a very GMT game-centric show, so be sure to tune in. Of course, I know a lot of people like to catch the show after it airs, because, I mean, come on, it is in the afternoon. People are at work, they're at school. So I do know a lot of people are kind of intimidated. My good friend Louie out in Arizona, he was kind of intimidated by Twilight Struggle, although he's a big gamer. And interestingly enough, I could never get him to play. Now, I would play his son, who's in college now, little Louie. So he and I would play, but Big Louie just couldn't get him to commit. Maybe he was scared. But I can say that, yes, he has played since I've been out in Arizona, and he loves the game too. So I'm going to show off how to play Twilight Struggle, give you some tips, some hints as far as strategy, as far as that goes. I'm not necessarily a master player of Twilight Struggle, but I do usually win more than I lose. Then on Thursday, it's RPGs on Thursday, I will be doing a review of Tiny Dungeon 2nd Edition, a very minimalist RPG. It's really neat. I know, I'm old school, I'm dorky. What can I tell you? I'm a dope, right? That's part of the daily dope up there. I say words like neat. But very, very unique. It's very minimalist, so it's very, very rules light. I do like the artwork. It's very, very nice artwork, very different as far as what you see in most kind of fantasy role-playing games. Then on Friday, I will be reviewing Dance of the Fireflies from Back Spindle Games and Ninja Division. And just take a look at that beautiful artwork. If you are into family-friendly games, because on Friday I like to do family fun Fridays, take a peek at the unboxing I did for Dance of the Fireflies. The artwork is just really, really pretty. It's very, very nicely done. So I will be reviewing that on Friday. And of course, next week, things just pop up. Like for an example, Darkest Night showed up Saturday afternoon, which I was like, whoa, sweet. Because I understand that I probably have a copy of Chariots of Rome coming from Victory Point Games, but I was not expecting Darkest Night. So thank you very much, kind folks over at VPG. Alan Emmerich and Karen and Grant and the rest of the gang over there. So anyway, let's move on to the news. I've got 4 news stories today, and there was one that really kind of caught my eye that I'm going to talk about in just a little bit. But first off, I do want to mention there is a new and revised edition of the 2009 Euro game of exploration and empire building. It's coming from Burnt Island Games and Grand Gamers Guild, 2 companies I am not familiar with whatsoever, but I do have the dope on Endeavor Age of Sail. Yes, the modern classic returns. Did you miss your chance to play it when the original edition was available? Did you play a friend's copy and can't understand why it ever went out of print? Did you play your own copy into ragged pieces like we did? Whichever one of those is true, or if this is your first look at the game, welcome to the campaign. Yes, I did take this information from their successful Kickstarter campaign. Because the actual kind of blurb, kind of like sell sheet info, was kind of minimal that I found. So I did track down their Kickstarter campaign. Anyway, it is a dream come true for us to bring this game from Jarrett Gray, it might be Gerard Gray, and Carl DeViser. Hopefully I'm getting close on the pronunciation of both of those. Anyway, Endeavor Age of Sail is a strategy board game set in the historic Age of Sail. Thus the name, obviously. Starting out in the crowded hub of Europe, you must struggle to dominate at home while sending ships to the closed regions of the world, and be ready to seize control when they open up. You'll compete to grow the most successful empire through a smooth combination of area control, capture key cities and the routes that join them, resource collection, get the assets to build your empire, engine building, construct the buildings to power your strategy, and action management. Use your population and trade tokens wisely. The elegant gameplay is driven by 5 different actions: occupy, ship, draw, attack, and payment, pay up, and 5 different attributes: industry, wealth, culture, influence, and glory. The way you build, combine, and manage those elements creates your empire. Your challenge will be to navigate the maps of the world as they unfold and write the history book so that the Age of Sail describes your victory. I do want to mention that there was a Kickstarter video that I was going to share with you so you could get a much, much better look at the game. But what I've done now is I now upload these videos ahead of time to YouTube secretly, and I got a multitude of copyright violations flagging me. So I'm going to take a pass on sharing that video. Anyway, keep in mind that Kickstarter is long over, and of course, it was a success. So Endeavor Age of Sail is slated for an Essen Spiel 2018 release. Yes, you'll have to wait until at least October to snag a copy. The game is for 2 to 5 players, ages 12 and up, and takes a little more than an hour to play. The MSRP will be $70. I've mentioned before that some Euro games leave me cold. This one looks like it would be one of these games that's right up my alley. Because if you follow the Daily Dope, if you watch regularly, sometimes I'll mention that one of the things about Euro games that kind of falls flat with me is you don't really have a narrative, especially a lot of the really abstract puzzle kind of games. But I can see Endeavor Age of Sail would be one of these games where you finish the game and you're like, aha, yes, I remember when I defeated the English doing this and that, and sounds like it's gonna be a pretty interesting title when it arrives. Anyway, unfortunately, yes, you do have to wait until at least October, since it will be coming out at Spiel, and then usually there's a delay for us to see things in North America when they premiere at Spiel. Anywho, just wanted to float that out there because it does look like something that would be up my alley. I do want to mention also, if you are a fan of Soda Pop Miniatures Super Dungeon, or I always recall it being called Super Dungeon Explore, maybe the name has changed. There is a special Valentine's Day themed hero to bring to the mix. Yes, that is right. For the month of February only. And I've got the dope. Love is in the air, and Sweetheart Candy is here to celebrate Valentine's Day by joining your heroes in Super Dungeon. Sweetheart Candy is a limited edition Super Dungeon model that is only available for order during the month of February. In fact, Soda Pop Miniatures is so, what word would I use? Adamant, maybe? About it only being available this month. Pre-orders will close March 1st at midnight Mountain Standard Time. We will then do a special made-to-order production run of this adorable new version of Candy just for you. It will include a Sweetheart Candy resin model, and of course, assembly is required, and a Sweetheart Candy hero card. Sweetheart Candy is only available during the month of February. I can't stress that enough. Don't miss out. Order yours today. Sweetheart Candy is available right now through Soda Pop's website for $19.99. Completely honest here, folks. I have never played Super Dungeon Explorer. I always dug the look of the, what is it? Is it chibi? Is that the pronunciation of it? I think they're called the style. They're not super deformed, but the style of the miniatures, I think it's called chibi. And I always thought they looked really, really fun. I think like they would be really, really fun to paint and kind of show off. But I also thought, isn't Candy the character who has, I think it's a little cat normally, and the cat is called Cola? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Anyway, as I mentioned, you can snag Sweetheart Candy for $19.99 right now from Soda Pop Miniatures. I do have Rail Raiders Infinite that I am going to be reviewing. It's going to get reviewed next week. I did the unboxing last week. Now, I had mentioned there was a Kickstarter that, well, I said it was something that really kind of struck me as interesting and unique. And it is a Kickstarter. I know, I try to shy away from a lot of Kickstarter news, but this was something that I really thought deserved some attention. And it is a project that's running right now from an Australian company called Storybrewers Roleplaying. I've never heard of them either, but it is a role-playing game that is based, wait for it, on the novels of Jane Austen. And it's entitled Good Society, and I've got the dope. Navigate the pitfalls of romance, reputation, manners, and marriage in this tabletop RPG that captures the heart of Austen's work. Good Society is a collaborative role-playing game that seeks to capture the heart and the countenance of Jane Austen's work. It's a game of balls, estates, sly glances, and turns about the garden, at least on the surface. Underneath this, just as in Austen's own novels, it is a game of social ambition, family obligation, and breathtaking, heart-stopping longing. In this game, you play the type of characters that captured your imagination in Austen's books, from a wealthy heir who falls in love with the aloof new arrival to a charming socialite bent on ruining the reputation of their rivals. Exploit your advantages, connections, and family influence to achieve your secret desire, all while jealously guarding your good name. Not only that, players in Good Society hold the power to control the story itself and change it in their favor. Take control of influential connections, create rumor and scandal. Oh, those instigators, I tell ya. And spend tokens to orchestrate balls, carriage accidents, and even marriages. Why does carriage accidents not seem like that would fit, right? You're orchestrating balls, marriages, and carriage accidents. It is the elegance of Austen's world, the sharpness of her wit, and the beauty of her passion that inspired us to create this system. But it is the deep and complex struggle between desire, expectation, and position that has guided its development, and we hope you will enjoy both elements. Good Society is a collaborative tabletop role-playing game where you and your friends take on the role of Regency characters and the forces that complicate their lives to create a truly Austen story. One person takes on the role of the facilitator, who helps the players to create the game's fiction and plays supporting characters as needed. The game is quick to teach and easy to learn, whether or not you've played a role-playing game before. New to role-playing? Well, if you are, you're probably not watching this show. Anyway, but if you are, it's not a problem. The New to Role-Playing guide has already been unlocked in our stretch goals, so if you want to give role-playing a go for the first time, now is your chance. Storybrewers Roleplaying has put together a Kickstarter video for Good Society, and thankfully enough, it doesn't violate any copyrights, so I wanted to include it here. So let's take a break from our game of whist and peek at the Kickstarter video, shall we?
Dearest friend, you know now of the secret wants that captain my heart, and I the desires which plague yours. In times past, we would cancel each other, dismiss such passions. Our families, our obligations, and indeed our very reputations demanded it. And yet, why should we not pursue our objectives without injury? Opportunities stand ahead, afforded us by connections, position, and wealth. We must use every tactic, every relation, every favour to pursue our ends. Outside, the dark of winter is thawing into a glistening spring. As the flowers bloom, so does my resolve. This year will be different.
Hi, I'm V.
And I'm Hayley.
And we're the creators of Good Society, a Jane Austen role-playing game.
Good Society is a story-focused tabletop role-playing game that seeks to capture the heart and the countenance of Jane Austen's work.
It is a game of balls, estates, sly glances, and turns about the garden, at least on the surface.
Underneath this, as with Austen's own work, it is a game about family obligation, social ambition, and breathtaking, heart-stopping longing.
In this game, you play a member of the Regency gentry, seeking position, marriage, and wealth, and all while maintaining an impeccable reputation. For example, you could play the socialite, master of rumor and scandal, always in the right place at the right time. Your family is of a proud military background, but you joined the militia for the social opportunities and have no intention of ever seeing battle.
In the deepest heart of every character in Good Society is a secret objective, a burning hope or passion that they wish to accomplish. It is this objective, along with the characters' obligations and social ambitions, that drive the drama and the razor-sharp wit of the game.
To give Good Society the right feel, we've created an original system from the ground up, with game mechanics that mirror the actual mechanics of Austen's world.
Reputation, family background, rumor and scandal, and of course, internal monologues, are all important rules of the game.
Good Society is geared towards collaborative play. There is no dice.
Please hold your astonishment.
Instead, players use resolve tokens, which allow them to change narrative details about their world.
You can play the game with a facilitator or with no GM.
As part of the game, players will create and take control of minor characters, such as indiscreet relatives, condescending nobility, and of course, eligible suitors.
When you back the game, you will have the option of pledging for the deck of NPGs, non-player gentry, that will help you create believable Austen characters at will. We've playtested this game over 2 years and orchestrated more than 60 advantageous marriages.
We're really excited to share this game with you, but we need your help to finish the design and fund more awesome art like this.
All backers will receive a quick start version of the game, so it won't be long before you're ready to head to your first ball of the season.
So please hit that green button and get yourself a copy of Good Society.
Thank you ever so much for your support.
Bye!
Okay, and I'm going to take a guess that the first email telling me that I am a social justice warrior is hitting my mailbox now. For sharing that video and talking about this news piece. But I will say that Good Society right now is over 1,000% funded. Yes, you heard me correctly. And you can reserve a copy of the core book as well as the relationship and desire cards in PDF for a $10.50 pledge, or all the planned PDFs and stretch goals for $17.80. If you'd like a nice, sturdy hardcover edition of Good Society, of which obviously Jane Austen herself would approve, you can reserve that for a $45.30 pledge. If you're kind of wondering about the pricing, it is because Storybrewers Roleplaying is an Australian company. So with the exchange rate, this is what it comes out to US. I will point out the project runs through March 5th with an expected delivery of October for the digital editions and November for print. I have to say, and as I mentioned before, this kind of struck me as being unique. This is unusual. And it's from a small company. I believe they've got one other game that's out there. So I really wanted to share this project because if you swing over and I'm showing their website, storybrewers.com below, but when you go check out, as a cat hair goes floating past me, if you check out their Kickstarter page, they've put together a really impressive Kickstarter. And I have to say that their Kickstarter page puts some very big companies that are very well established to shame. So kudos. And it does look like, I believe it's V and Haley in the video. They look like they're fairly young. Of course, they could be 30 for all I know. When you hit 50, everybody looks young. But I really feel, I want to give give a little props, give a little, it's a smaller company, younger people. Usually RPGs are designed by folks, my age or older. So really wanted to get this out. If you have any interest in the stories of Jane Austen, by all means, take a peek. This really does look like something that is certainly worth, if not backing, at least taking a few minutes to take a look at. Okay, anyway, finally, I've got some television news of interest because Amazon is going to be doing a Conan series, and that is according to Deadline, that we could be seeing Conan hitting the streaming service, well, not soon, but in the future. And here's the dope from Deadline. Amazon is developing the drama series Conan, based on the books by Robert E. Howard. The project hails from Colony co-creator Ryan Condal, Game of Thrones director Miguel Sapochnik, close, Fargo and The Handmaid's Tale executive producer Warren Littlefield, Pathfinder Media, and Endeavor Content. Created and written by Condal, Conan retells the classic character's story via a return to his literary origins. Driven out of his tribal homelands, Conan wanders the mysterious and treacherous world of civilization, where he searches for purpose in a place that rejects him as a mindless savage. The project falls into Amazon's push into big fantasy as far as drama series with broad appeal in the mold of Game of Thrones, which is exemplified by the company's recent big bets on a Lord of the Rings TV series. Condal admits to having a personal obsession with the material, which Sapochnik, that's my guess, has also been a longtime fan of, leading to their collaboration on the project with the creative goal to return to the original Howard literary works and produce a series that is faithful to the spirit of his Conan character. Conan the Barbarian, aka Conan the Cimmerian, was created by Howard in 1932 in a series of fantasy stories originally published in Weird Tales magazine. The character has been the subject of a number of screen adaptations, most famously played by Arnold Schwarzenegger on the big screen. And you're seeing an image of that, probably as I'm saying that. There have been 2 animated TV series and a short-lived 1997 syndicated action-adventure series, Conan the Adventurer, top-lined by Ralph Moeller. I'm interested in this by quite a bit, and if you're a fan of any of the Conan games out there or the original Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, although the second Conan the Destroyer was a little too heavy on the comedy and a little too light on the action, because they went from sort of an R rating for Conan the Barbarian to like a PG. Was PG-13 even around back then? I don't recall. But it was a PG film. But oh man, love Robert E. Howard's Conan stories. So, as I was saying, if you're a fan of Conan board games, role-playing games like the excellent, modifious Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, this is definitely something that you're going to want to keep your eyes peeled for. Granted, there's no guarantee that this is actually going to make it onto Amazon's streaming service, Amazon Prime, because I know that there was a Conan movie actually with Schwarzenegger attached to it for quite some time, and that fizzled out. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because I think that would be pretty cool. All right, so that is what I've got for the news today. And I will get to the unboxing in just a second. There were a few items from the mailbag that I did want to discuss rather quickly. And if you notice down here, if you have a question, comment, suggestion, you can always email mailbag@thegaminggang.com. And sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not so nice. I do also want to mention, should have said this at the beginning of the show, there is chat available. Chat is available through Twitch as well as YouTube. It's just not on screen. thus that helps to dissuade the trolls out there. But especially during the unboxing and when I do a review, if you have a question or you want to see something a little closer, feel free to chime in. Say hello if you'd like. That's cool too. Anyway, wanted to get into the mailbag. There were 3 things. First off, and I'm not going to name names because they were all kind of like negative. So, which is a little unusual. Usually it's pretty positive, or people have questions. And I love when I get questions about, hey, is there a particular fantasy role-playing game you like better than others? You know, those kind of questions are pretty cool. I like those, dig those. So anyway, first off, I get an email from somebody and they're saying, hey, you know, I've been a subscriber on YouTube to the Gaming Gang channel for a long, long time, and I'm an unsubscribe because I don't like this new daily show and I don't like this stream thing, and I just want you to just, you know, do reviews, do unboxings, and that's it. So, yeah, I'm going to unsubscribe. Okay. You know, what am I supposed to tell you? Sorry. I think there's some folks out there who are kind of upset that it's not just, hey, every week or two I've got a video where it's like, oh, hey, I'm unboxing this or I'm reviewing this. Actually, there weren't a lot of review videos. It's mainly usually unboxing videos, and then I do a written review and then include the unboxing video like up on the Gaming Gang. Sorry, you know, I guess some folks are like, well, you know, this is a little too different. This isn't what I'm used to seeing as far as, you know, the other websites and channels that cover tabletop gaming and things like that. I don't like it. It's kind of like, I want it to be more like these other videos. And it's sort of like, sorry, you know, I'm doing what kind of I'm having a fun time doing. I know there are folks out there who aren't as vocal, who, you know, are basically, you know, digging it, sitting back going, yeah, hey, okay, this is cool. Something to watch, pass an hour of my time, what have you. Anyway, so I wanted to address that because thankfully I don't get a lot of, you know, nasty or negative emails. I'll get them. Everybody who does this gets them. Thankfully, I probably don't get as many as other people. Fingers crossed. Just because I think over the years I've kind of established where you're not really going to wind me up too much. Yeah, it's like, okay, all right. Anyway, so there was that. And then there was another one who had basically said almost along the same thing, but it was sort of like, oh, you know, you ramble on a whole lot and there's a lot of okay, so yes, I do pause sometimes and I do it happens. Gotta keep in mind, this is a live show. This is a live stream. I don't do any editing afterwards unless the sound is out of sync, and I tested it today. I think the sound is cool. Won't know until it finishes rendering on YouTube. But yeah, it's a live show. It's a live stream. So you can't really, just like if you were listening to the radio, you can't have a lot of downtime. So yes, I do tend to ramble a bit, trying to come up with something, or something pops in my head and I just start talking about it. And just, I don't want to say I'm filling dead air, but you don't want dead air, right? So that's, and I'm chatty. I'm very chatty. People who know me in person, people who encounter me covering the different conventions, people from various companies, they all know I talk, I chat, I kid around, I joke around. So yeah, there isn't the ability for me to sit there and be like, oh, let me cut that out, let me chop that out, like in a podcast, or if I was just shooting a video, doing a review or something like that. You know, when you listen to podcasts, and I can speak from personal experience, when Elliot Miller over voiceofe.com, my best friend, and I teamed up and we would do the podcast for a few years, there was a lot of editing that went in. I mean, if you heard the raw recording, it probably wouldn't have been as popular as it was, simply because there was a lot of, you know, kind of dead air, things like that. Anyway, so yeah, I apologize. I do kind of carry on a little bit, and there's no way to really edit it without it looking like all goofy. And I hate that whole, chop, 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 chop. That whole, that whole thought process of shooting video where every second it's got to be a cut to, no thanks. Anyway, the third thing was somebody had emailed me, and this is actually going to segue into my unboxing. And somebody had emailed me, and they had said, wow, you spent way too much time talking about little companies, nobody companies. How come I don't? And yes, the Fantasy Flight Games thing, yes, we've kind of discussed that before. And it's not like I have anything against them, right? And they were saying that, you spend a lot of time devoted to these little small companies who cares about these small companies? Where's that effect, right? Which, yeah, okay, yeah. Do I talk about Cool Mini or not? No. I mean, their latest Kickstarter for Hate certainly is not my bag, so I'm certainly not discussing that. Yes, Fantasy Flight Games doesn't get a lot of news because I figure it's out there everywhere. But the thing is, I think a lot of people don't realize that companies that start off as small end up becoming companies which are big. I can give you plenty of companies right off the top of my head, examples off the top of my head as far as companies that kind of start out small and they're pretty big. Let's look at, say, like Modifius Entertainment. They came out of nowhere. They had Achtung Cthulhu. That was sort of their bread and butter, their evergreen. And then suddenly, boom. They've got Star Trek, they've got Conan, they've got Mutant Chronicles, they've got all these RPGs, they've got the Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures game coming out. It's just, but they started off as small. Yeah, people weren't really talking about them. Another great example is my friends over at Victory Point Games. That's right, because when I started covering Victory Point Games, the vast majority of their games came like this. And I've kind of showed this off before. And just Ziploc bag, kind of print on demand, desktop publishing, had the cards, stuff like that. And a lot of reviewers didn't talk about them. I can name a few people right off the top of my head. I know Mark Rivera over in the UK, Blighty Gamer. He would cover the Ziploc stuff coming out of Victory Point Games. Fortress Ameritrash. That was another company, or another outlet, I should say, that was talking about Victory Point Games and the Gaming Gang, obviously enough. And of course, people would post stuff on Board Game Geek saying, hey, wow, really good game, really enjoyed this game. And the whole thing was, gameplay is the thing, right? That was the Victory Point Games tagline. And they made a lot of really fun, really excellent games. And as kind of funny, we grew up together. Victory Point Games and the Gaming Gang have pretty much grown up together, and they used to pop out in their games. And we didn't pay for this. This was just how nice the folks over at Victory Point Games, Alan Emmerich and the gang, they would actually have these inserts for, like, GMT is on this one, but usually would have a bunch of their games, Victory Point Games. And then they had, hey, check out the Gaming Gang, listen to the podcast with Jeff and Elliot. And they actually spelled Elliot's name correctly, which is major bonus points because it's 2 L's, 2 T's. And of course, suddenly other people were learning about Victory Point Games. They started coming out with box games. Then they started coming out with bigger box games. And they redid a new edition of Nemo's War, which I had only played the one that came in a bigger Ziploc bag, which was great. Really, really enjoyed it and reviewed it. And lo and behold, a few years later, look at this. We're going to be taking a look at Darkest Night. So please, if you're someone out there, and I know there's some folks who they're never going to be happy. Okay, that's just how it works. There are some folks out there, and it is one of the reasons why I don't really hang around Board Game Geek a whole lot, because I run into more people like this, and I'm not knocking BGG, but they're just, it's like they have their own concept of what this hobby should be and what games you should be able to get, and it's like, you know what, whatever. I don't need that. And they're very negative about stuff. Oh, well, it's only my way or the highway. Nope, sorry. So if people, once again, if you're like, oh, well, I don't like the news, and when you do the news, you talk about these little companies, when you're doing unboxings for little companies I don't care about, great, there are a multitude of places you can go watch video about other games, bigger games. So, that's all I'm saying. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I just feel, I want to address this, kind of nip it in the bud, because I'm getting more and more people are saying, oh, well, I'm going to unsubscribe to your channel. Okay. I mean, they're going to demonetize the videos February 20th anyway, because I'm 100 subscribers short of their goal. All right, whatever. It's okay. Anyway, so enough of that. Like I said, I'm not mad. I'm not complaining. Let me get this lined up here. And then let's swing on over to the other camera. That is right. So let's take a peek at the second edition of Darkest Night from Victory Point Games. And it is designed by Jeremy Lennert. It is for 1 to 4 players. And so there is a solitaire. If I remember correctly from the first edition, I don't remember it necessarily being kind of a variant for playing solitaire. Simply because you took on the role of other heroes, because there's different heroes in Darkest Night. So I don't recall the core concepts or core mechanics gameplay changed, simply because you were playing with 1 player as opposed to 4 players. So originally Darkest Night came out as, let's see if I got one floating around here. All right, John, there we go. I grabbed John Welsh's Cruel Necessity. And if you have not played Cruel Necessity, may I point out that you are missing out, because it is an excellent game about the English Civil War. And it is still available from Victory Point Games. So Darkest Night, the first edition, came out kind of in a box like this. So got kind of the sleeve on here, and then game box. So once again, we're talking, small companies. Well, this was a big step up for Victory Point Games, and the component quality was a big step up too. Well, now we're looking at, yes, they actually, it came off the slow boat from China. So let me slip this back on over here. So anyway, as I was saying, it is for 1 to 4 players. It is a fantasy game. And the premise is that the necromancer, this evil necromancer, is casting his shadow across the land, and your heroes need to turn the tide against the necromancer, and it is not an easy game to win. I will point out that this is shipping out to Kickstarter backers, so it did have a very, very successful Kickstarter in 2016. I think it was the end, like maybe November of 2016. So these are shipping out to backers. You can order it as well from the Victory Point Games website, and it does carry an MSRP of $134.99. So I will give folks a moment to regain consciousness. Okay, so hopefully everybody's back with me. I know there are going to be folks out there who are going to go, wow, $135. Wow. Eyes kind of bouncing out. Something that I have noticed over the past few years when Victory Point Games does a Kickstarter, that you really, really want to get in on the Kickstarter as opposed to when it comes out and goes to retail. Because a lot of times with companies, they'll do a Kickstarter and the Kickstarter, you're basically paying MSRP. And then a lot of times you'll see afterwards when the game comes to market, sometimes you'll see it even less than what the Kickstarter pledge was without any kind of stretch goals, things like that. I have seen this, and I know there are people who are kind of upset sometimes that something they back on Kickstarter ends up being available for much less. That is not the case that I've seen with Victory Point Games. Usually Victory Point Games, if you back the Kickstarter, you're going to get, for one, a much, much better deal. Because I want to say, whoops, as I kind of bump the mic, I want to say that when this was on Kickstarter, that I think you got the core game, because there was also an option to get miniatures. Because this should have standees, I believe. You could get the miniatures as well for about the price of what the core game is alone. And you could get the core game for about $30 less if you had backed it on Kickstarter. So just so you know, for future reference, when VPG does a Kickstarter, maybe they're doing a second edition of a game or they've got some new game that looks really, really good. Don't sit around and wait for it to come to retail. Don't wait for it to come to market. Jump on that Kickstarter because you are going to save money. Okay, so we got rid of the shrink on this, and I'm telling you, this is a pretty heavy game. So, excuse me, this is a big box too. In fact, just to kind of give you an idea, and I've mentioned before, I don't have huge hands, but this is a big box, a heavy box. Let me grab a sip here, real quick, wet the whistle before we dive into this. Oh, see? Okay, so now look at this. This edition is actually for 1 to 5 players. And it's ages 14 and up. Well, yeah, I knew that already. But it is for 1 to 5 players. I think originally it was 1 to 4. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a long, long time. Okay, so Darkest Night. In a land of darkness, the kingdom's last heroes gather in the hallowed ground of the monastery. The king's army is broken, the land's overrun, and now the castle has fallen at the hands of a dread necromancer. Soon his power will be great enough to penetrate even this last refuge. In this cooperative strategy game, you are the land's last hope. Travel the kingdom, aid the people, battle the undead, and elude the necromancer while you seek the holy relics with the power to send him to a true death. As you pursue your quest, you will gain new powers and abilities unique to your chosen identity. Where did I leave off there? Duh. Zealous Crusader, Inspirational Prince, Secretive Rogue, Enigmatic Seer, and more. 29 heroes in total with individual advantages and play styles. But not a one of you is a match for the mighty necromancer, not yet. Pick your battles, husband your strength, work together, and perhaps you will live long enough to see a new dawn. Hopefully, or fail, and your land will be home only to the dead. Nice. Artwork looks really stunning. I did a preview of the second edition before the Kickstarter came out. Victory Point Games had sent me a box. I mean, it was just jam-packed with stuff. And there were all these stretch goals. And it was sort of like, and if you want, you can go back and check out the video. It was stunning because it was like, holy cow. It's like, okay, so you're going to have this, 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 and all this stuff. Okay, so it will take about 2 to 3 hours to play Darkest Night. Let's crack this baby open. That was the box, folks. That was not me. Okay, so popping along here. First of all, we've got the rules. Let's take a look at the rules here. I will mention, I believe, as with most things that we see, most games that we see, when they're talking about having an age requirement on the box, so we saw it's 14 and up. Usually the actual gameplay, the mechanics aren't that difficult to learn. It's 14 and up because of the components. I just like to mention that, and I know I mentioned that quite a bit, and I'm pointing that out because I don't remember. Yes, there's a lot going on in Darkest Night, but I don't recall it being really, really difficult to figure out. It was just a lot of things that you were kind of keeping track of. So we've got an introduction, taking a look at the game equipment, showing off different cards. Yeah, there were just so many different decks of cards, and yeah, the preview was sort of like, wow, you guys are going all out. I want to say Darkest Night and my good buddy Herman Luttman's Dawn of the Zeds are probably the two best-selling titles from Victory Point Games. Maybe that's in like all time. I think Nemo's War, of course, obviously with the second edition, has done really, really well. So I would say it's probably those three. There's always cool stuff. If you're a war gamer, you definitely want to check out Victory Point Games. They've got some family games. They've got the card game, is it Twilight of the Gods, I think it's called, that I got to take a quick peek at. Some people playing at Gen Con last year. All right, so we've got map subdecks, map card anatomy, common gains and losses, heroic resources, the sequence of play, lots of illustrations, talking about the event card anatomy, darkness, because the darkness is constantly spreading, darkness card anatomy, blight, effects of blight, combat, penalties, power card anatomy. Oops, excited. Really, really nice artwork. Items, quests, quest card anatomy, mysteries. I don't know. I can't tell you. All I can tell you for sure is it's a mystery. Mystery examples. Victory and defeat. Other rules, rules for the monastery, optional rules, adjusting the difficulty, playing with different number of heroes, optional rule difficulty modifiers, which is nice. If you find a game is too difficult, you can kind of tweak it a little bit. If you're finding that every time you play, you're just kind of zipping right on through, not challenging enough, you can boost up the difficulty. Increased quest example. Playing as the necromancer. And then an extended example of play, as well as the credits. The artwork, I do believe, and I apologize if I'm incorrect on this, but I believe the artwork is provided by Clark Miller. I know that the artwork for the board, I'm just not positive if all the artwork within, but let's take a look at the credits I just saw. Well, it does say that art is Clark Miller. Graphic design by Noelle. Noelle has been with the company for quite a long time. Not necessarily saying she's old, I'm just saying she's been with the company quite a long time. All right, so we've got the Darkest Night Compendium. Oh, it's going to talk about the heroes in detail. Sweet. So we've got the Acolyte, the Alchemist, the Bard, the Chandler, the Conjurer, the Crusader, the Druid, the enchanter, the exorcist, the knight, the mercenary, the mesmer. You've been mesmerized. The monk, the nymph, the paragon, the priest, the prince, the ranger, the rogue, the scholar, the scout, the seer, the shaman, the tamer, the tinker, excuse me, the Valkyrie, the wayfarer, the wind dancer, and the wizard. And then it talks about artifacts in detail, blights in detail, darkness cards in detail. That's cool that they actually have gone and given you a breakdown on each of these character archetypes. Nice. You don't see that in a lot of games sometimes. It's just sort of like, okay, well, you're the knight. These are your abilities. Knock yourself out. So that's cool. It's like we've got a reference sheet with items, search results, necromancer's turn, the different blights that will take place. All right, we're gonna get. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the Twilight of the Gods. Yep, Twilight of the Gods, Age of Revelation. Oop, didn't throw that out. Hey, it's kind of funny. They've got Healthy Heart Hospital, and that is one of their Euro games that I usually talk about when I talk about Victory Point games. A lot of people think, oh, Victory Point games, it's just war games. It's like, no. Dawn of the Zeds, 3rd edition. I thought that was out of print. I'll have to find out. I thought it was out of stock. And then 2nd edition Nemo's War. All right, grab another sip here before I dive on into all these goodies. Okay, so we've got, these are, if I remember correctly, these are the blights. It's been a while since I looked at Darkest Night. I believe these are the different blights. What do we got here? Curses. Oops, as I bump the camera. Try to get you a good look at these. Let's back around here. Nice, thick cardboard there. I know, it's kind of weird to say cardboard. Makes it sound chintzy. Which it's not. Certainly not. Got some tokens here. If I remember, I think these are these spark tokens. Okay, so we've got all the character standees here. Try to get as many of these into the shot as I possibly can. Kind of get close up. Because, of course, the tripod on the camera sort of gets in the way. Because I try to get the camera as close to being completely overhead as I can. It can be kind of tricky depending on the game. So, come back out. We'll get a look at pretty much all of these here. Oh, and look. There's the Necromancer down on the bottom. I think there's a Necromancer miniature included with this. I'm not positive. And of course, dual-sided. Okay, so we've got more of the blights, and then we've got a lot of kind of informational tokens here. Pop in on these. Artwork is really, really nicely done. This is certainly a game that my nephew Cameron, which I've kind of been talking a little bit. Last weekend, I introduced him to his first real pencil and paper role-playing game, fantasy role-playing game, and I hadn't run a fantasy role-playing game in, 35 years. But Dawn of the Zeds is one of Cameron's favorite games. His friend Hunter loves it too. His friend Alex likes it, but his friend Alex has kind of a hard time grasping the rules to it. But yeah, the younger members of the gang really dig Dawn of the Zeds. In fact, because I'm a cool uncle, I actually gave my nephew my edition of my copy of the second edition of Dawn of the Zeds. But he's not getting third edition. Absolutely not. But this is certainly one that I know Cameron and his friends are going to totally dig. They're going to be super, super into it because they really liked Folklore of the Affliction. They're big fans of Apocalypse. So they like these kind of games that, you know, some action. It's got a story, just like me. I'm like I say all the time, I'm a big theme guy. I'm a big narrative guy. And yes, I'm sure by now someone has already thumbed down the video. Oh, he's too chatty. Ooh. Oh well, sorry. Okay, so we've got the game board. And what in the world? Okay, so I'm taking a guess. It's all right. So we've got this game board here, and this looks like the original game. There may be like an advanced game, and there might be kind of a basic game. So for the second edition, because this looks really familiar possibly from the first edition. Then again, this might be. Excuse me. You would utilize this maybe if you're playing solitaire too, because boom. Oh, is it the same? Yeah, I guess it looks kind of the same. I wonder if it might be because if you don't have enough space at your table. Because as you can already tell, there's so much in this. We haven't even started looking at the decks of cards yet. That it's possible that the idea was if you've got a smaller table. Because I'm telling you, I swear it looks like they're the same. Huh, interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, VPG. What was up your sleeve with this? All right, so that is the game board there. And now we are going to have so we've got a bunch of standees for all the heroes. Bunch of custom dice. There you go. Well, okay, so there's still six-siders, but they're not just your standard six-sided dice. Nice. Then we got the Necromancer Mini. Boo, hiss, boo. Don't know if that was supposed to be straight or not. I'm taking a guess it's probably not supposed to be straight. See how it's almost like a staff. It's kind of curved there. But that would be... Because the plastic's fairly solid. Of course, this has some give to it. Now, I can't tell you if you can pick up the additional miniatures as a separate purchase or not. I know in the Kickstarter you could. And then as I had mentioned before that there was a pledge level where you could get the miniatures as well as the game. So you're replacing the standees with minis. And the deal on that was actually really good because I think all in all it was 30 miniatures. And I think it was about an additional $30 or so. Pretty nice. Pretty cool sculpt. Yeah. Pretty cool. Not real soft detail. Of course, it's plastic. Sometimes you see some real soft detail. But no, that looks like that dude would paint up really well. Okay, so we've got that. Got a bunch of little Ziploc bags for all the counters and tokens. Okay, so first off, let's take a look at the character cards. And how do we have this sealed? Here we go. So we should have, okay, so first off, we've got 6. I guess it's all, oh, okay, I know, I remember what I'm looking at. All right, so each of the characters are going to have, okay, let's tilt that so I don't get too much glare. So you're going to have your character card. This is going to give you an opportunity to get a much better look at this artwork. I was looking at the back because I was thinking, oh yeah, there should be like little player references. But then I remembered what you do is each of these characters on the back of their card is going to be this. So when you've selected your characters, you take some characters that you haven't chosen, flip them over, and then you've got your character reference. So what you can do on your turn, the actions that are available to you, and so on and so forth. So that's the Acolyte. We got the Alchemist, the Bard. Sing me a song, baby. Channeler. The Conjurer. The Crusader. And if you're taking a look here, you'll see there's almost, is that like a book? Yeah, it's like a bookmark here. And I'm taking a guess that maybe the bookmark represents characters that maybe the designer recommends that the first time you play with those characters. Just a guess. So that was the Druid. The Enchanter. The Exorcist? No, maybe that bookmark doesn't mean that because that looks different. The other one almost had like a blood streak. I can't tell you what that bookmark represents then. Mesmer. The Mercenary. The Knight. Oh, yeah, this artwork is looks really, really nice. That is awesome looking artwork. I'm one of these people where when a game has some really spectacular art, it just kind of I don't want to say inspires me, but it just kind of brings the whole gaming experience up a notch, at least in my opinion. So that was the Monk, and we got the Nymph, the Paragon, the Priest, amen to that, the Prince, the Ranger, hey boo boo. I won't finish that up because it's not family friendly. Used to joke around and do Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, they weren't stealing picnic baskets, I can tell you that much. So I was a Scholar, got the Scout, the Seer, the Shaman, the Tamer, the Tinker. What, no, Tailor Soldier Spy? Huh? What? Valkyrie. That's it. Pretty, another nice, nice looking character there. That's pretty cool. I shouldn't say pretty cool. It's very cool. The Wayfarer. The Wind Dancer. And then we've got the Wizard. So it is not simply the usual fantasy tropes included in your characters. Yes, granted, there are some, you know. The Wizard, obviously, right? The Rogue. But there's a lot of other unique characters as well. 29 in total. Put those back in here. Slip that back in there. Now we've got these big kind of tarot-sized decks. Let's take a look at these next. And they've got the little kind of tabs. I swear, I just have an impossible time getting these things open sometimes. And as I say that, it easily opens up. That's why I always have a hobby knife nearby. It's sitting over on the mic, actually. So got that opened up. Let's see if we can get this one too. Oh, look at that. Super easy. Thank you, Victory Point Games. I was talking about how some folks are like, oh, well, you don't do the videos like you did and, do the unboxing where it's just the unboxing. And of course there's edits and graphics and stuff like that. And it'd be funny. But a lot of times when I'd have to open up decks of cards, I figured, oh, well, I'll just leave the camera going, just leave it running. And then it'll just take me a minute or two. And of course I'll just cut that dead space out, when it's just like, okay, that was basically 2 minutes of what you'd see, right? And then I'd get into some of these cards, some of these decks that were wrapped up and would have an impossible time getting it open. So I'd be cutting out 5 minutes from a video. Okay, so we can see here, they're tarot size. They've got, let's see, you can get the sheen on it. It's almost, gosh, what do they call that? It's almost, I don't want to say a satin finish, but it's not just paper. It's not just, like a deck of cards would be. Let's look at the backs of these. So these are events. So we've got events, we've got artifacts. There's something else I just pulled out. I think these are all artifacts. I am not going to go and show every single card because obviously this is a game where you're going to have surprises and things like that. I am one of these really, really spoiler-free sorts of people. So what is this? I don't know. I have no idea. It looks odd. Is this just a separator that was tossed in there for some reason? Because it's really not a card. It's because it's kind of like cut off. Don't know. I have no idea. Haven't a clue. Okay, so we've got some events. Let's kind of have a quick peek. Let's take a look at a couple of them. Dead Servant. I hate when that happens. And it says, take a look there. So then it's going to tell you how are you going to deal with his dead servant? A dust storm. Electrical storm. Haunt. Once again, cool artwork, even on the smaller images here. An undead horde. No. So these are some of the events. Panic. And then some of the artifacts. So we'll just kind of take a peek. And of course, it's going to tell you what does this artifact do? What is it good for? Horn of Dawn. Winged boots. Because in your travels, as you're battling the forces of the necromancer, you're going to acquire different equipment. Black pearl. To kind of buff your characters. Mirror of Moonlight. And as you can see, now granted in the events there were a couple of duplicate images that I saw, not a lot, just a couple, because it was like the same thing, right? Like Undead Servant, I saw there was another one. but you can see all this artwork is all unique. It's not being recycled. Void armor. So these are the artifacts. Then we've got map. We got some more events. Oh, these are all events. All right, Jeff, maybe I should have taken those artifacts, put them on the other side here. A setback. No. Altar. Okay, so we've kind of got an idea of some of these events. Ritual. Slide that in there, and then we've got the map. And as you're going to the different areas, you can search, you can explore, because, you're trying to find these ancient artifacts that are going to allow you to defeat the necromancer. But there's all different results depending on where you're at. And different blights that can take place. So, of course, this deck is the cards are all going to be similar. But, of course, the results as you look down. So, mountains, castle, village, swamp, forest, ruins, the monastery. Because the monastery is sort of your safe haven. And if the blight, if the forces of the necromancer ever take over the monastery, then you lose. And there is a race against time element going on in Darkest Night as well. You're not going to simply just be, taking your time, twiddling your thumbs, because his strength is increasing and he's consolidating his power. So you can't mess around forever. I'm not telling you only have like 3 turns to do it, but you will track that, his progress as the evil continues to spread. Okay, so let's see. Is it on this edge here? Yeah, just go to the hobby knife. See, that's what dead air sounds like. See, that wasn't too exciting. Just sitting there cutting it with a knife. Okay. Quests. Bunch of quests. The character, yep. Special abilities, the character. Spells, things like that. So we got the wizard, the wind dancer, the wayfarer. So kind of what we got. Yep. So the tinker, and you won't have all of these abilities, but you can earn them. You'll have some to start off with. So here it is, panic button, and it says, okay, this is what that ability does. Phasing gadget, telling you, okay, so what does that ability do? And you'll have your deck for each of your characters off to the side. And of course, you'll have whatever ability, spells, what have you, right there too. Whatever you have available, active, I guess we would say. So, got a bunch of these here. And I was going to say, if I remember right, a lot of these cards are going to be similar to what we just took a peek at, because there's 29 characters. Each of them have this little deck. So we've got quest cards, Ancient Curse, Angry Guardian, Closed In. I'm feeling closed in. Collaborators, Without a Trace, poof, gone. Dire Spiders. So this, as you can tell already, this is just jam-packed, and you are not going to play 2 games of Darkest Night that are going to be the same. It's always going to be different. Open this one up. Take a peek. I think we're probably just looking at all character abilities. Yep. Just to sort of give you an idea. So, who we got here? Oh, camouflage. Can we take a guess? Maybe that's the rogue? No, it's the druid. Ha, ha. Nice guess, Jeff. You're wrong. Essence of wind. And that is the enchanter. Once again, whoops. Get a little closer in here. That is some really impressive artwork. I like that art. Really nice. Really nice. So I will pop these in here, because there are a lot of character abilities and spells and things like that. Because you figure there are... Well, this one, I'm not catching that either, so let's just go back to this. Don't try that at home, kids. You'll shoot your eye out. See, now we've got the acolytes. There we go. Starting to move into some mysteries. And of course, I'll sort this all out before I play it. I hope I can get this to the table this weekend with Cameron and the gang. Otherwise, I know I'll have a review of this within the next 2 weeks, as that piece of plastic stuck on my hand. Get out of there. So we've got mysteries. Are these all mysteries? Yep. Let's take a quick peek. An ancient riddle. Ooh. Oh, that's common knowledge. Everybody knows that. Hold the line. Sacred Glade. Cool. Cool, cool. Then we've got darkness cards, and these are never good. All-Seeing Eye. Empower. Hall of Mirrors. Smother. So these are the things that will happen that, of course, are beneficial. It's the necromancer using his powers to make life more difficult for the heroes. Let's get this last one open up here. No, I shouldn't say last one. There's 2 left. But I think this might be another where it's all the characters. Prince, priest, nymph, monk. Yep, it's all the characters. We've got the knight. So one of the knight abilities is Oath of Vengeance. Yep. Okay, so it's all those. Like I said, I will sort it all out later. Just trying to get through these this last deck here. Oh, I just cut it. There we go. What's going on? That hobby knife is sharper than anything. These are just more of the character abilities? Could be. Tinker, Shaman, Seer, Scout, Scholar. Yeah, it's all just the character abilities again. The Ranger. So you are not getting cheated with these characters as far as all the various different special abilities that you can earn. And some of them that you'll start off with, you'll be able to choose to start off with. So it's just jam-packed. In fact, let's take a look here. Scout has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cards. I remember when I was talking about how I did the preview for the Kickstarter, I told you there were tons and tons of cards. Okay, so there we have it. So we've got all the different cards. We've got the tarot-sized event, map, and artifact cards. We've got the 29 heroes. We've got all the standees. A honkin' fistful of custom dice. The little Ziploc bags. The Necromancer miniature. This strange thing that I think was just a placeholder in the deck. We've got the interesting looking two-sided game board. Like so, and like so. We had 3 full-size counter and token boards that you'll punch out. Another smaller one with, looks like it was the Blights. Got a little ad for VPG. The rules, the compendium, and a reference sheet. It's good. Nice stock, though. It's not just a piece of paper thrown in there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is what we find when we take everything from Darkest Night 2nd Edition outside the box. And as I mentioned previously, Darkest Night 2nd Edition is available right now from my friends over at Victory Point Games. It is for 1 to 5 players. Remember, for some reason I was thinking it was 4. Ages 14 and up, and it plays in about 2 to 3 hours. And it carries an MSRP of $134.99. So if you'd like to learn more about Darkest Night 2nd Edition, swing over to victorypointgames.com. And as mentioned before, I will have a review of this out as soon as humanly possible, but I'm telling you, that's a damn impressive game. Really is. All right, so that's it for today. Wow, ran 90 minutes. I didn't think I was going to go 90 minutes today, but there's just a lot to look at, and we skipped over tons of cards in Darkest Night. So when you are not watching the Daily Dope, by all means, swing on over to thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow with me taking a peek at the latest expansion for Wing Leader from GMT. It's Blitz 1939 to 1942, as well as pretty sure I'm going to do a how to play of Twilight Struggle, also from GMT Games. If you kind of dug the stream, kind of like the Gaming Gang, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you liked the video, give it a little thumbs up. If you hated the video, it's okay. You can thumb it down. I'm fairly thick-skinned. Anyway, I am Jeff McAleer. I'll be back tomorrow, which is War Game Wednesday. And until then, thank you so much for watching.